Hello and welcome to another episode of Monday Morning Manager. As always, I am the host. My name is Dylan Meehan. I am a writer at City Extra, and I am joined by Phil Casso. We are here to talk about Manchester City's week of hell with two home matches against Manchester United and Napoli before then heading down to London to take on Arsenal. Last time we were here, we were talking about the Brighton fixture. It was a little bit of a therapy session. I think both of us were pretty down in spirits. I think now that we take a step back, there's been a little bit of time. I'm just kind of curious to see, how has your opinion changed since the last time that we spoke, and are you optimistic at all as we get into this period?
I think it's always good to take a break after this type of, I don't know, downturn that we had where we lost two games on the spin like that or didn't get the results that we really wanted. Just to get away from the negativity. I think that a lot of it is a pile on. We kind of build on each other's negativity a lot in the fan base and stuff like that. So it was good to get away. It definitely helped me recalibrate how I felt about everything going forward and stuff like that. And yeah, I would say, a bit more optimistic than I was coming directly out of that match. I definitely think that it wasn't as bad as it never is. It never is as bad as we think it is in the moment and stuff like that. Or at least usually it's not. And this time I think that it fits right in there with that. So I think that coming out of the international break with improving fitness, hopefully. Obviously that's something we'll get into a little bit more and stuff like that and just building chemistry. So these are all the things I think that need to improve, and they will only improve with time. And with time passing, I think that it will be getting better. So
Yeah, so you mentioned chemistry, you mentioned fitness. It's a little bit hard to build chemistry when so many players are hurt. This is where currently, this is according to the City Extra article that had posted Wednesday morning, a little bit before we decided to record. So these are the 13 players. I'm not going to say all 13 because some of them are like obvious, but the maybe 10 or so players that are currently injured for City. Ryan Aït-Nouri chose to not go up to Algeria. He's prioritizing his recovery after being hurt against Tottenham. Gvardiol, who has still yet we've yet to see him. He's yet to be in the preseason friendlies or anything like that. Have yet to see him. Kusanov. So the Uzbekistan FA confirmed he's nursing a calf injury sustained against Brighton. That's why he came off. Diaz came on. I'm not going to make any comment about that. We talked about that in the last episode. Rico Lewis was forced to withdraw from the England under-21 duty with a knock. John Stones left England's camp early after experiencing muscle tightness. Tuchel confirmed that it was a precautionary decision. Ryan Shirky, he's going to be out for 2 months with a thigh injury. Foden, still not fully fit. Kovacic is still recovering from his surgery. Nico O'Reilly also left the England under-21s. Savino, unknown if it's a legitimate injury or was just a way for him not to have to play before his transfer. And then, kind of lastly, maybe the most high-profile one, Omar Marmoush gets a knee issue, some kind of knee injury against Burkina Faso. He's on crutches. He's got like a NFL offensive lineman knee brace on his leg. The Marmoush one is the one I'm kind of probably a little bit the most worried about, just because multifaceted. One, it seems like the most potential long-term. The club even put a statement out about it, which I was a little concerned about because normally they don't put any type of comments out on injuries unless it's something serious. I do think the one little wrinkle that makes it a little bit better is that he's not flying to Barcelona. The moment a player is flying to Barcelona, the moment Dr. Krugat is mentioned, that's when I start to get worried. It could just be a little bit more of a precaution. But I'm nervous from that standpoint. And he's essentially the only person that can then play centrally if Haaland were to go down. And Haaland doesn't have the best injury record. So that's the current state of play with City's fitness. It makes me a little worried heading into what is going to be the week from hell. What are you thinking?
yeah, it's a lot. I think that some of those names on that list are likely to be fine and to be included, in my opinion. I was looking at it. I'm thinking Foden, he was on vacation. He looked, there's no boot. There's no, it's nothing too serious. He was in Amsterdam, I think, enjoying himself.
Yeah,
So I'm
saw the
expecting him.
photos.
Yeah, yeah, looked good. But Nico O'Reilly, I think him and Rico, it being precautionary and the fact that they were willing to go in the first place, I'm definitely expecting to see them on the bench. So that's some good numbers for the bench. Rodri, Gvardiol. Gvardiol is a weird one because he's been back to training for a while. So I could definitely see him being a bench participant, but it's hard to kind of say that when he hasn't been included at all up to this point. So
Yeah.
obviously he could still be out. Ryan Aitnari, I'm expecting to be there. I mean, he was okay before the break, really, honestly, if we're going to be honest. And he was just, it was a precautionary one. And Savino, too. I think it's exactly what you said. I think he didn't want to jeopardize his move to Tottenham if the it was on the table, and I think the club let him do that. The Marmouche one is very concerning for me for a multitude of reasons. One, like you said, they did the club statement, which is odd, is not something that I was expecting to see after the reports came out yesterday about the severity of the injury and how nobody in the Egyptian camp was really too worried about it. It was a small bruise. He looked in good spirits. He was walking around. Obviously, we know that doesn't mean much after we saw Rodri versus Arsenal walking on the pitch like nothing was wrong with him after he tore every ligament in his,
Yeah.
his right knee or whatever. Um, but yeah, then to see the statement today, along with just, I also really worry when I see a player take a hit on the outside of the knee and then start grabbing the inside of the knee. That is very
Yeah.
concerning to me, and that's exactly what happened with Marmouche. It's an upside that he played on a little bit and stuff like that. So obviously there wasn't complete destabilization, which normally happens with the torn ACL and stuff like that. So pray that it's not a 6 month plus type injury with him because he does fill two spots in our squad. Like you said, the backup striker position, but also the Doku competition, and Doku's
Yeah.
health and fitness is never something to be sure of either. He is like Holland to where they are both very explosive athletes and can get injured with muscle pulls and stuff like that at almost any moment. And the fact that Marmouche is the backup basically for both of them, or the starter for left wing or
Yeah.
whatever, however you want to put it, I think that's really concerning for our depth. And I think that if Doku gets injured, then you're pretty much forced into a Savinho left wing type situation. And people have their opinions on that, but I don't really like it when our squad is backed into corners. I think we saw that at the end of
Yeah.
last season to where we didn't really have options, and that makes you really easy to figure out, especially with the way that we play football. So, like I said, hopefully that injury is nothing too serious, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Savino playing left wing might be one of the few potential positives out of this. I do think he plays better on the left versus on the right. Unfortunately, Doku refuses to play on the right. But
Mm.
looking at the squad just from a if Stones and Kusanov are out, it basically leaves Diaz and Ake as the only fit center backs. And then it would probably then be
Too bad
it's
Victor
potentially
Hayes is
Nunez.
as
Yeah,
Girona.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm,
Honestly, time to recall Akanji
oh my
too. Please
God.
come back. But it basically would force Nunez to play right back as well, which we'll talk about with United because a little bit of a throwback after the Brighton match. It would essentially leave the left back position as a massive question mark if Ake is not able to go out left and there's no fit center back. And then at right back, if Rico can't play, it's just Nunez as well. That where I think it's maybe currently the most short-term problems because I think the midfield you would still have Rodri, Reinders, and you could play Bernardo as well. You have Nico there as well, Nico Williams as well as O'Reilly. So there's at least I don't want to say depth, but you can tell who are three warm bodies that can play those positions. And in the forward line, it would leave you with Holland and then one of either them Bernardo and then Doku or Savino, depending on fitness, would be up there or Bob. But the injury point is to me just then going to lead into more issues with chemistry. The team just looks misaligned. It looks disjointed. It looks like no one is fully comfortable. And if half of the squad is nursing injuries, that's not going to get any better, especially in the first 3 months of the season, where it's you play 2 or 3 games, international break, 2 or 3 games, then international break. And it just feels like this is going to be what like this stereotypical issue that has plagued City throughout honestly most of Pep's tenure is that we are just going to continue to see this slow start into the winter period and we're here again.
not only all that other stuff about how the chemistry at other positions is going to fit in, with Turkey being out and stuff like that, somebody who we expect to play a massive role and stuff like that, Marmouche, like just new players. But also now we have Donnarumma who we're going to be integrating at the back, most likely. I'm assuming that he's going to play
Yeah,
and be the starter given his
yeah,
his wage packet and stuff like that. So it is super stressful, and this is going to be a more long term, more protracted issue than I think that we thought it was going to be in the beginning of the season. I kind of wrote off the no preseason type of narrative in the beginning of the season because we had the Club World Cup and we got our transfers in relatively early, but it's not seeming to be that easy of an issue for us to overcome. I think that maybe it is a different environment in terms of building chemistry when you're going to the Club World Cup as opposed to preseason matches where you can try out everything to the maximum of your principles the exact way you want. You don't have to focus on winning or winning in a certain way. I don't know. It's something that, like you said, is going to be something that drags out into the winter period, and hopefully around then we start hitting some fitness and start, I don't know, hitting some, being able to get some training sessions, even though with the Champions League starting, that's also looking unlikely, something that could drag it out. I know that they don't really train the days
yeah.
after matches and stuff like that. So, and the day before a match, they're not going to hit a super tough training session either. So when you're starting hitting 3 matches a week, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It is a little concerning, I can't lie, but you got to have faith in the talent of the squad and the talent of the coaching staff.
Yeah, reading if you've read any like the City books, any of the Pep City books, the lack of training that this like it makes sense just from a fitness standpoint, but it is really interesting. Just there isn't time or energy to do a lot of training, and this is the time where there needs to be. They just need to play. They just need to play together, and they're going to have to do it on the pitch, which will probably lead to poor performance, which then almost inevitably then leads to poor results. So, shifting away from that, you talked about Donnarumma. You talked about the fact that he's most likely going to be starting. Welcome to the Premier League. Welcome to Manchester City. Right into a Manchester derby. A honestly just kind of it's been a bizarre I guess last season it was bizarre in the sense of City were not really good in either match. I mean, there was the 0-0 draw in the spring, which was just one of the most boring and dreadful City matches I can remember. And the match back in December, City go up 1-0, and then Nunez with I would say one of the worst decisions I've ever seen that led to a penalty, and he had almost equally as terrible of a decision against Brighton, just in the previous match. And then Ahmad gets the second goal in an equally almost bizarre popping it over Ederson, scores from a ridiculous angle. Look, I don't think Amarin's team looks worse than last season. I think United look marginally better, but what are your thoughts on Donnarumma coming into the Premier League, his first match at a Manchester derby, potentially with an incredibly injured squad, a short-changed squad? Are you worried about that? Is that something where you think that could potentially set the tone, especially given all of the anxiety around his ability to play the ball at his feet?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's coming into a cauldron. I mean, I don't know how much anybody watching this has seen the reaction online to any of the mistakes he's made in the international break or any of the video compilations going on around with him. The fan base is very on edge with him. I think the fact that it's Trafford as well, that's his backup, being a local boy and stuff like that, I think that that is assisting in this. But I also think that, listen, Donnarumma is a top keeper. Any manager will tell you this, but his mistakes have been very high profile over the years, and many people have seen them. Most people will remember that Real Madrid game in 21-22 to where he basically gifted them it back in a chance back into the match when PSG had that game relatively settled. And things like that stick in people's minds. And I can't blame them. We all have players like that. We think that way. Cancelo comes to mind for myself, to where mistakes just stick with you forever and you can't see a player differently.
The
But
solid
that's
turn.
yeah, yeah. But it's like I think I think we have to, I personally will be obviously backing him and giving him a chance to start here. And I hope that the rest of the fan base can find it in their hearts to do the same thing, but it's not looking like he's going to get too many chances with the fan base to start, to where he could feel some serious pressure and like some breath down the back of his neck very quickly if things don't go right. So yeah, I definitely think it is concerning going against United, who are consistently a bogey team for us, who always seem to come up with a super jammy goal to score against us. I mean, I feel like I can think of a goal every single year against United that frustrates me to no end. And I don't know, throwing in a keeper who is prone to the mistake here and there, and someone who has to adjust to our playing style, and our best center backs at playing the ball are out. I mean, if we're rolling Diaz and Ake out there in front of him, that's not very much help, to be
Yeah,
honest. It really isn't in terms of passing. They're both, I mean, Diaz is a better passer in my opinion than he's given credit for, but he's not John
absolutely.
Stones. He's not John Stones. And Nathan Ake, while I love him as a defender, he's just not the attacking center back that the rest of our center backs are. So you're losing something from not having Gavardiol there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It is stressful for him, and I hope and pray it goes well for him. Not because I'm some big Donnarumma stan, but just because this guy's on a 5+1 contract. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
he's City's keeper.
Yeah, for the next half a decade. So why don't we just start this well? In my opinion, that's my hope and pray. So I hope it goes that way.
I think a cauldron is a fantastic analogy to make, just because with everything that you just said, the fact that the first two games, both United and Napoli, are at the Etihad, you think of the anxiety that the fan base currently has, the negativity the fan base currently has. You think of the fact that he is replacing an academy player. It is a cauldron. It's almost as if the matches were away. I almost would wonder if it would be a better initial environment versus, yeah, just this anxiety that I'd have to imagine is like palpable in the stadium. Like, that is an energy that you can feel. I've been in the Etihad before they've won a title, and that positive energy can come through. It just seems natural that like anxious energy is also able to seep through onto the pitch.
Yeah, I think that obviously it could have a positive outcome. I think that like what you said of it being away might be a more positive environment. I would honestly probably agree with that, just given the composition and the way that the away fans seem to react and get behind the players. I feel that
Yeah,
the away fans, the guys that travel week in and week out, are some of the most supportive fans. I mean, look how they stuck by Jack Grealish all the way to the end. They never ever backed out on him when you would see large swaths of the regular fan. I don't want to say regular fan base, but you know what I mean. Like the fan
yeah,
base who's online and who go to home games aren't as dedicated as the away fans who go every week. They stuck by any player always, and I think that that's probably a better environment for Donnarumma. Obviously, I think that it could swing the other way. I mean, we don't have to look at it so negatively. If he has a big match and saves us with some saves and stuff like that, it could completely flip this narrative on
yeah,
its head that's been building against him. So maybe it is a positive opportunity for him, but it's high risk, high reward because you talked about the anxiety. I would try to quantify the anxiety by saying what would happen if we lost in an embarrassing way. What is the reaction of the fan base going to be if something negative happens in this match? And I don't think it's going to be pretty. I'll be honest. I saw what it was after Brighton. It was getting ugly then. A loss in a derby to a team that we simply, as a fan base, do not respect right now after what we've seen them put out on the pitch for the last, I don't know, 18 months. I think that would be a meltdown. And look, I can't blame them, especially when it comes to a derby, because these guys got to face, these are their coworkers. The people that they're catching banter from are their coworkers and the people they see in everyday life, their family members and stuff like that. So it will be quite a bit of anxiety, and yeah, I'm just hoping that him having this experience on the big stage, which is kind of what we bought him for, will help him pull through in this type of moment.
yeah. What's your score prediction?
Oh, I think it's going to be a disaster. I do. I honestly like, not a disaster in terms of well, a disaster in terms of the result. Maybe not the score won't be like embarrassing. Like we're not going to lose 3-0, but I easily could see a draw. This is a classic trap game for me. Coming off
Yeah,
the international break, a lot of changes. It was negative beforehand. I think we're probably going to have to figure some things out early in this match, which kind of worries me because, as we've discussed last week, we've been fading in matches given our fitness and the no preseason stuff. And matches that we fade in against United are normally matches that we drop against United. As you saw last year, we faded in that match that we lost 2-1. one of the biggest fade jobs of last year. Like we really struggled towards the end of it, and yeah, I think that especially with the two games coming up afterwards, the Napoli game, very emotional. I think that it normally wouldn't be as big of a game, but with Kevin De Bruyne coming back, I know that all these players are looking towards it, looking forward to it, and obviously Arsenal right after that, which maybe shouldn't be a bigger game than United, but given the way that our expectations for the season and stuff are, and their expectations are, and United's expectations, I think that it probably is in the players' minds, especially given all the controversy, all the heated battle that was last year with Gabriel and Holland and Lewis Skelly and all these guys, and I don't know, Rico Lewis always seems to have a little bit of beef with Arsenal. It seems like this is a big thing for us. So I definitely could see us looking past this game and having a tough result. How about you?
I don't think anything of what you just said is wrong. I cannot believe that City have not wiped the floor with this United side and how poor they were last season. I just 2-0 is just like what the is for some reason my gut is telling me, but I don't think it's a derby. It's never the best City sides have never been able to consistently, no matter what, beat United throughout the past 10 years of Pep, no matter what. And so I don't there's no way to go into it being like, oh, there's absolutely no way United don't get a result here because they have repeatedly shown time and time again that they're able to because the games are just not really super easily predictable. But 2-0 is just what is coming to my head, so that is what I'm going to go with, and that is my optimistic take on it.
Yeah, I think that that's super true what you said about even the best sides not even being able to touch, true dominance over United because I always think about the treble season, which the kid I'm wearing just reminded me of. We absolutely dominate them, basically 6-1 at home early in the season when we're not even in good form and they're in okay form. And then come the middle of the season in the winter when we're really ramping it up and they can't seem to buy a result, they somehow, obviously, the Bruno goal drives me crazy to this day. But they did it. They got it done. It's like that type of match to where you just have no idea what to expect. So yeah, it is crazy how that works in football. You wouldn't think that it would still be this way with how, you know, mechanized this football operation is to where these upsets and these local rivalries matter so much, but it does matter.
To try to wrangle a little bit of positivity before we close it off, Erling Haaland had one of the greatest individual performances that really any player has had in quite some time. Gets a perfect 10 rating from FOTMob. I think it's the fifth time it has ever happened. 5 goals, 2 assists. I think it is 54 goal contributions in 45 matches for Norway. It's not the worst thing to happen as we head into a shitty week and into a week from hell, having the best striker in the world be in literal form. I think they said it's the first time in 50 years that someone scored 5 goals in a World Cup qualifier in Europe. So yeah, I guess that's the positive spin on all this.
And he needed it too. I think that he needed a match like that from the way that, he's leading the Premier League in goals. So I hate to say that he's like not started that great or anything like that, but there's been some chances he's missed. So seeing him get on target this much and I don't know, some of the movement I saw from him in the Norway clips of the goals and stuff like that were really good as well. So I just like to see him getting into good form and his mind being sharp as well going into these matches because we're gonna need him. This is the Erling Haaland team now. Like we go as far as he goes. So
Yeah.
hopefully this can carry through.
Yeah, it's a weird thing like saying I do honestly agree that he needed it just from a confidence and form standpoint. He's judged in a to use a cross sport reference, it feels very like 2010s era LeBron, where it is just the level of where he has to be for it to be deemed good is at the absolute peak form of almost any other player in the world. And
Ever.
so and yes. And so it is at that thing where if he is not at that standard every match, he is judged so far against it. And I almost actually feel like his initial season, because there was all the things that were written about him, like is he able to do it? The Rory Jennings clip. There was that the Muller Athletic article where it's like the case against Erling Haaland. There's all these things, and I think it was that whatever 52 goals in 53 games that kind of set the tone as like, this is what this player can be. And if he's not exactly at that level, then it's like a disappointment, despite the fact that that is just such insane output. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm happy that he, even though it's Moldova, yes, I understand it's Moldova, but teams play Moldova every international break. And you know what they don't do? 7 fucking goal contributions. That doesn't happen. That is not normal. That is not a normal thing that happens.
I'm I'm really glad you brought up the LeBron comparison in particular because I know we've discussed this before, but with the Donnarumma and him posting on Instagram the LegM type thing,
Yeah.
I know we dismissed it a little bit previous, but it's starting to grow some legs for me in terms of like how do these things that make no sense start to happen like that? You know,
Yeah.
something that makes no sense from the outside, and then it comes out that he was pushing for Donnarumma internally or whatever like that. I don't know. It's just really interesting to he's starting to grab control of the reins a little bit in that regard as well. So just something to keep an eye on. I know we had discussed before. I wanted to bring it
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah, I don't love that stuff, to be honest. I'm a massive LeBron fan. I think the LeGM stuff has harmed his career to unbelievable levels. And I think the anxiety he puts on franchises, not to make this an NBA podcast, but the anxiety he puts on franchises, I don't think works. And I don't want Holland to be doing that to Manchester City. That's all.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I just noticed it and I
It's
saw some
there.
people talking about it,
Yes.
so I just wanted to bring it up one more time.
If I can find the noticer meme, I'm gonna overlay the noticer meme into this
Exactly.
into this bit. All right, man. I think that's it. The week from hell's coming up, and 10 days from now we're going to be talking, and we'll probably be talking after the United match, but less than 10 days from that. But it's just going to be a really weird time, a really, really weird time. And thank you for doing, honestly, the first preview show that we've done. So appreciate you coming on. I realize I never do a call to action on these things. I always just put like our ats and stuff. But yeah, follow Phil Costo on Twitter. Please. Anything else that you want to highlight?
No, follow Dylan on Twitter.
Yeah. I tweet a lot less. When City do well, I just kind of put my phone down. I'm paid to tweet for work, so I already have to be on it a lot. And when there's just so much negativity, it's really easy to just not pay attention. Yeah, sure, follow me. Go for it. I appreciate it. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, please. Once again, as always, no, I didn't buy the channel. Thank you to Freddie and Jordan. Appreciate it. And that's it. Peace.